So we stood there, and I remember Robin and I were stood like this with our arms behind our back, going like this. And we didn't know what to do with our hands, you know? And just stand there going and singing away.
We used to do all these like pop shows, but they were very live, and there was no such thing as taping shows.
We did various songs that we'd either written or heard, or songs that were hits at the time. There was Lollipop, of course, and songs that people sang in harmony.
You'll always be the one, the only one my heart will ever know. So
we were quite regulars on those shows for a while as kids, but we weren't by any means a really professional act.
And it was great experience because you were on the spot. You didn't, nothing was pre-recorded. You know, you picked up your guitar and you went on and you played and you sang. In 1960 and 1965 was the era of rock and roll in Australia, with its own environment, its own TV stars, its own pop stars, rock stars, totally unknown to the rest of the world.
if it should end, I don't mind. If it should end, I will find. What shall I do? What shall I do? What shall I do? What shall I do? Cars and buses and trams make a lot of noise.
We were like on an adventure together. We were loving everything we were doing. We were just hoping that we could get more recognition. But I don't think it was till the Beatles came along that we realized how much we wanted it to do to have the approval they had.
Come on, 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 please, please me, oh yes, like I please you.
When the Beatles came to Sydney, the magic was unbelievable. I mean, the whole city was like in this mood of Beatlemania. I'd never seen anything like this before. And I remember going down Pitt Street and getting a fan club book, the Beatle fan club books, and looking through what gear they've got, what boots they're wearing, what outfits, what clothes, the amps, the guitars, the recording session pictures, all this stuff. I was mesmerized by them because they were doing something that we love to do. And they were successful at it.
Like I please you.
So we began to believe in ourselves. We began to believe, well, okay, if they can do it, then we should be able to have a go at doing it.
It was just like, not born out of arrogance, but
No.
it was just a blind belief that, hey,
Yeah.
you know,
Why can't we have a shot at that?
Where is the sun that shone on my head? The sun in my life, it is dead, it is dead. Where is the light that would play in my streets? And
So we
where
felt a little bit left out of the Mersey boom. We wanted to be a part of that. There was so much energy and so much excitement about it. That was our world. We wanted to be a part of it. We're from Manchester, you know, as far as we knew. We knew we were the Isle of Man born, but brought up as kids in Manchester. And we were Northern, just like the Beatles, you know. What are we doing here?
Right up, chaps. Let's have a check. Black? Check. Check. Right up. Right. Right.
Where is the girl I love all along? The girl that I love, she is gone, she is gone.
You have to remember, this was an era where the UK was dictating whatever happened in America.
What happened in the world,
Yeah.
culturally, musically.
And we had to be where the action was. London was the hub.
As much as we loved Australia, we'd had 13 records in a row and not doing that well at all record-wise. So we released our last record, which was Spicks and Specks in Australia, and we decided we're going to go back to England.
Because we didn't want to miss out on the Mersey boom. What we didn't know is it was coming to an end. We were going to make a shot. I was about 18, and Robin
now
and
about
Morris was
50 or
16.
60. Yeah.
We went and told our mother and father that. We remember that night as being fairly turbulent. They weren't completely in agreement and they weren't completely in disagreement. And so it was very difficult for Mum and Dad to think, well, hang on, we're going to have to give up making a living in order to take this chance, in order to get back on a ship and sail five more weeks back across the world to England on the chance that our three sons think they can be stars or think they can be famous. But we told them that this is what we're going to do, Mum and Dad. This is what we're going to do, and you've got to go with us. You've got to do this with us.
We left, but a week out, we found out that Spicks and Specks had gone to #1 in Australia, and it just blew us away. And we're a week out now, you know, and we're thinking, oh, great. You know, the only people who knew it were the rest of the Australians on board the ship, you know, going, hey, great, nice one, you got a #1. We go, yeah, great for us now. So we ended up going back. So we came back to England and kissed the docks at Southampton when we got off.
There was a pop group standing on the docks, dressed like the Beatles were dressed in Help. And they said to us, don't go any further, go back to Australia.
Go back. Groups are dead. Clapton lives.
Groups are out.
Groups are out. Groups are out. And that became the mantra that we heard no matter where we went. Groups are out.
Yeah.
You haven't got a chance. You haven't got a chance.
We ended up in Hendon in February of 1967, sleeping on floorboards with the dream of hopefully somebody would discover us.
We'd been around to managers. They were all saying groups are out. It's all solo artists now.
The comment that was made to us was, it's all Eric Clapton now.
So we got home and Mum had said that Mr. Stigweed called. We never heard of Mr. Stigweed. So when Dad returned the call, it was NEMS, which was Brian Epstein's organisation.
We sent tapes and records to the Beatles manager, Brian Epstein, and his partner, Robert Stigwood. We didn't know whether or not they would hear them. Robert Stigwood spoke to us, and he had heard the records, he had heard the tapes, he wanted Brian to actually play the songs to him that we'd sent from Australia. He said, I hear you write your own songs, I like what I hear, can we do business?
So we go to the Savile Theatre in London. Robert came in, supported by two gentlemen, and he looked a bit weary for wear, and he'd had a late night, obviously.
And we were still performing our nightclub act.
Even the Peter, Paul and Mary section we do. We did this whole act. And he said, right, be in my office at 5. Got up and staggered out. You know? So he thought, okay, I wonder if he liked us. You know? So that afternoon we went in, and then they offered us a 5-year contract to be signed to NEMS. And I remember walking in there and we saw Ringo for the first time. I went, oh, the Beatles!
We weren't full-fledged rock stars. We were a pop group, and there was only 3 of us, so it wasn't really a band. And Robert Stigwood brought in Vince Maloney and Colin Peterson to help us to become a band.
It was 2 months after that, we were in the American Top 20 and the British Top 20 with our first single, New York Mining Disaster. It was down. Robert Stigwood was actually, you know, the champion in and the jewel in our crown as far as our career goes, because if we hadn't met Robert at that particular time, I don't know which way we could have gone.
In the event of something happening to me, there is something I would like you all to see. It's just a photograph of someone that I knew. Have you seen my wife, Mr. Jones? Do you know